I'm not a freestyler. I've never been crazy good at doing insane skills like this. In fact, I used to struggle doing even this. This caused me to struggle with confidence, and when a group of my friends would start doing a skills show, I always felt out of place. My goal with this video is to teach you how to do a few common juggling tricks so that you don't have to go through that discomfort like I did. Welcome back to the channel, or just welcome if you're new. Without further ado, let's get into it. The most popular and famous of juggling tricks. First up is the around the world. It is so popular because it looks really cool and it is both easy to learn and challenging to pull off. In fact, being able to do it often feels like wearing this badge of honor. So here's how it looks in slow motion. To do this, take a touch and then swing your leg around the ball and take another touch before it drops. While it sounds so simple, performing it is far from that. Here's some tips. Firstly, you need a touch like Goldilocks. A touch too heavy will cause the ball to go up too high, making you unable to get your leg over the ball. However, a touch too light will not give you enough time to get your leg around the ball before it hits the ground. The easiest way to do this is taking the touches with your toes like this. Finally, when you take that touch, don't hesitate. If you wait a fraction of a second to start moving your leg, you're probably going to drop it. Now for most of us, it's really hard to just go out and do this. So here's how I recommend progressing to learn this skill. Firstly, learn to be able to juggle like this and hold the ball on your foot like this. Once you can do this, move on to the next step, which is to start by holding the ball and lift your leg up with it. Once you get to the top, swing your foot around the ball. You probably won't get it in your first try. So make your aim to touch the ball after it bounces like this. Once you can do that consistently, now do it without letting it bounce in between like this. The next step is performing the around the world while juggling. Learn this just like you did from holding the ball. Take small touches and then take a Goldilocks or a just right touch and swing your leg around. Learn by letting it bounce, and once you've mastered the bounce, then do the real thing. Now we're moving on to the around the world. Yes, you heard me right. I think it's called the same thing, but it's slightly different. This time we're going to move our leg from out wide to in. To learn this, you want to do the same steps as I mentioned just like a minute ago. Usually it's easier for players to learn one variation than the other. So try to figure that out and learn that variation first, so that the jump to the other variation isn't as challenging. To reiterate briefly, start by holding the ball and allowing a bounce, then holding the ball and no bounce, then juggle and let it bounce, and finally do the whole thing put together. Now we're going to involve both legs. This move is called Hop the World, and here's how it looks in slow motion. Before learning this, make sure you've mastered the around the world. For this move, you want to make your touch a little heavier than when you're doing around the world. This is to give you added time to swing your opposite leg over the ball. To make up for that harder touch though, you need to jump so that you can clear your opposite leg over the ball. And when I say jump, I don't mean like jumping as hard as you can, just a little hop to help you get your leg up. Now if you've mastered the around the world before this, then this shouldn't be a hard skill to master. It'll take you some practice, but it won't take nearly as long as it did to learn the around the world, as long as you've actually mastered that move first. Assuming you've done that, I would just recommend going for it. You can let it bounce first if you want, but you're skilled enough to do it without letting it bounce already. It'll just take some practice to get used to. Speaking of practice, man, this one took me a lot of practice to get down. And this is the double around the world. It is pretty self-explanatory. Do the around the world twice, doing the second one right after the first. And hypothetically, you can just keep going on and on like some crazy freestylers. What makes this one so challenging is that every touch needs to be perfect. Ordinarily, if you take a bad touch after doing the around the world, that's all right, because you can move your feet and recover pretty easily. But for this, if your second touch isn't perfect, then you'll struggle to get a second around the world in. Here's a tip that really helped me with this. When I do the around the worlds normally, I'm often quite flat-footed since it really isn't that difficult for me to do. But for this, make sure you're on the balls of your feet and have a little hop as you're doing the around the worlds. This makes it easier for you to adjust your feet for the second touch. And this small detail makes it significantly easier to pull off. If you have any other moves or skills you'd like to learn in tutorials similar to this, please comment them down below and I'll consider making a part 2. Then after commenting, watch this video. It has some excellent ball mastery drills that'll make you a better dribbler in tight spaces. Please leave a like if you've enjoyed the video or learned something from it, and I'll see you next time. Peace.